Hi, today is Thursday, April 10th, 2025, and I'm Jen from Behind the Scenes Tarot. So I was, as you know, I like to listen to a lot of podcasts just to try and stay up to date and informed in terms of things that are happening around us in this world, in this crazy world. And I heard something even crazier. And that was, I was listening to John Dowling and SG Anon, two resources I find on Telegram and Rumble. I find them to be, really have integrity and really reliable truth seekers. They're having a dialogue with each other about the revaluation, which I totally want to dive into in a separate video, because I do feel like the revaluation is very close. But what they were talking about was Blackrock. And I find that company to be rather fascinating because it's the largest corporation on earth. It owns a share of every company on the NASDAQ. They've got trillions of assets under management. But here's where it gets kind of interesting. A couple of years ago, they declared bankruptcy. How does the largest corporation in the world declare bankruptcy and then keep going? I found that to be like really confusing to me. And I just kept hearing like multiple bankruptcy announcements over this corporation, yet it's still in the news in terms of doing work. And Trump just announced that BlackRock was helping the US to take back over asset control of the Panama Canal. And BlackRock is a mega whale in terms of owning XRP. And BlackRock just keeps coming back up into the news cycle. And I'm like, what is going on with this company? Well, listening to the podcast, they said it's owned by the Treasury. When it went through bankruptcy, the US Treasury took over, like, I don't know, management of the business. And who is in charge of the Treasury? Because the Treasury is under the federal government. So Trump is in charge of the Treasury, which means, is Trump head of BlackRock? That was the thesis that the two of these podcasters were talking about. And I'm like, oh my God, that is such a paradigm shift that I love, because it makes sense as to why it went through bankruptcy. It probably did in the background. And then they took it over quietly. And then they've been leveraging BlackRock to be able to do things that the Treasury could never do at the surface. So I actually want to ask the cards, is that true? Is the Treasury in charge of BlackRock? Therefore, is Trump in charge of BlackRock? So let's ask the question right off the bat. I get my Trump card. Can you see that right at the bottom of the deck? Okay, so let's just see. Is Trump in charge of BlackRock? Is Trump running the show at BlackRock? And is BlackRock being used as an asset or a business arm for the good guys? Is Trump in charge of BlackRock, indirectly or directly? Does he have, maybe I should say, is Trump either in charge or have influence over BlackRock? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Does Trump have control or influence over BlackRock? So major arcanas and aces are a definitive yes. I'm not necessarily getting a definitive yes. I mean, potentially in the future with the major arcanas here, it says that he could have influence going forward. So here is just sort of their assets under management. It was handed over. There's a handing over of assets that's kind of secret. So interesting, the plot kind of thickens a little bit here. So maybe this is giving us sort of a story instead of this is true current day. They had some assets. There was a handing over, an agreement to hand over assets secretly, so that way they could be managed in a better way. Actually, this is kind of saying indirectly without, so Trump isn't necessarily chairman and CEO. So, but the question was also, does he have influence? And I think this could indicate some influence because it's saying strength and sun. So this is the best card in the deck, strength. So there's a lot of power and influence behind it. 10 of Pentacles is just your absolute huge manifestation of finances and having trillions of dollars of asset under management. This actually could be leading us down the path. Let's get two clarifiers on the reading itself. Queen of Wands and the Nine of Wands. So I'd like to clarify this Nine of Wands. One, two, three. Okay, so there is a new path forward. It was a shift, a pivot, where they're being leveraged in a positive way. So they are kind of being managed a little differently than how they had been managed in the past. So that's really interesting. Bottom of the deck is your strategy card, Seven of Swords. Going to the top of the deck, Knight of Swords, a movement forward. So yeah, there is something here, at least enough to continue going forward. So let's see. Is Blackrock being leveraged by the Treasury? Is Blackrock, is the corporation known as Blackrock being used by the Treasury to do their bidding? How about that? Are they secretly doing work on behalf of the US Treasury? Is BlackRock doing work on behalf of the US Treasury? 3, 2, 1. BlackRock doing work on behalf of the US Treasury. There's that Queen of Wands again in terms of the positioning of money. Chariot, how they're moving forward. Here's the Treasury itself, right? The creator of money. I mean, it's probably the best card to represent the Treasury. That or the Ten of Pentacles. Knight of Swords moving forward. Death card. Page of Cups. All right, so this could indicate the Treasury itself, that there was movement to move under the Treasury. The Treasury could be found here. Queen of Wands in terms of how it's distributing money. So maybe, this could be a validation, but the death card is interesting. I want to dive into the death card because the death could either mean secrecy. It could mean a literal ending of the corporation, like the bankruptcy I was just talking about. It could also mean they're halfway through a transition, never to be able to return back to the past. And the Knight of Swords as it's moving forward into something new. So let's kind of clarify what are they saying by the death card here? So Eight of Wands, Queen of Swords, Three of Wands. So there's movement forward in terms of who they say they are. And kind of, I want to clarify this Three of Wands. Nine of Cups, the Empress, Three of Cups. This is kind of giving birth to a new identity. So this is like, who do we get to be going forward? Who are we going to say we are? And that makes sense for the death. So I would almost expect to see maybe the, like the Seven of Cups, which is sort of secrecy or smoke and mirrors a little bit here. But I do like what I'm seeing here in terms of, is BlackRock doing work on behalf of the Treasury? It's very possible that it could, almost as its business arm or its investment arm, where it's able to do things through private sector that the US government would never be able to get away with, quite honestly. And this is kind of saying that BlackRock is getting a new identity, potentially a new identity under the Treasury, almost being protected. What's this Knight of Cups? Or I'm sorry, Page of Cups. Ace of Cups. Ace of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles. It's getting a whole new start. So let's ask, what's new for BlackRock? What's this new start that BlackRock gets to be? It's reinvention. What is BlackRock supposed to be going forward? Show me the true behind the scenes energy of BlackRock going forward. If they're getting a new identity, being under the Treasury, then what is that identity supposed to be? Like, who do they show up as in the world? What does BlackRock get to be when they grow up? Okay, 3, 2, And one. Knight of Cups. Four of Cups. Interesting. So here's that card being repeated again, right? Like, who do I get to be when I grow up? Because we saw this as one of the clarifier cards of the past sort of spread of, were they under the treasury? Yeah, I mean, they were trying to figure out, like, I think they're even trying to figure out what their identity is under the treasury. But going forward, they get to bring something to the table that's really positive, working together with the government as the government moves forward. So as the government in this new incarnation, in terms of the Trump presidency, they absolutely have a partnership with government going forward. Very interesting. Bottom of the deck is Sun. So what do they get to do going forward? Or actually, you know what? I don't want to clarify this card because this is the movement going forward, as in the passage of time. I want to dive into this card. This is the Three of Pentacles. This is the partnership card. Who are they within this partnership? Oh, the Devil, interesting. Judgment. Ace of Pentacles. Are they going to call out what the government has done in the past? Is this a disclosure? So the Devil card often represents the financial system to me. Judgment is some sort of like validation, announcement, declaration, reveal. Ace of Pentacles is a new beginning with money. This could be part of the revaluation. This could be part of disclosure. This could be part of like a reveal behind how the government has used corporations in the past, how the US government has basically been a corporatocracy, if that's the right way to say that word. I don't know. It's no longer like governmental, it's more run by corporations. We've been hearing that for years in terms of what the US, how, who's the shadow government that's pulling the strings behind the scenes. It's governments. I'm sorry, it's corporations and Wall Street. But if they're going to call out Wall Street or the financial sector, they're going to need the largest corporation in the world that has the highest level of credibility to be able to call this out. I have a feeling Blackrock is going to eventually start to turn around and say, here's what we've been up to. Here's what we've been doing on behalf of the government. Whether it's good or not, I don't really know. It's showing how money is being spent. Let's do a clarifier. King of Pentacles. Yeah, it's going to show partnership of finances, of how the US government has been leveraging them over the past couple of years, whether it's part of the Trump's first administration, whether it's part of the Biden administration. I don't quite know exactly where they're going to go yet with this. Bottom of the deck, the Sun card, it's a positive thing. Top of the deck, Wheel of Fortune. So this is the beginning of a new cycle. I think that BlackRock is going to start to disclose how the US government has been doing business behind the scenes, whether it's nefarious or whether it's positive going forward. I don't know, because the bottom of the deck shows the Sun. To me, that shows that it's going to show something positive, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see a little bit more going forward on this story. But just keep your eyes and ears open. Anytime you hear BlackRock, think in your mind how this ties back to the US Treasury, how it ties back to US political aspirations and goals. And also, if it's about acquiring assets like precious metals, crypto, is this going to be leveraged for the US debt to pay down the debt, or is it going to be shared through some sort of wealth distribution to the people? That I don't know. But we'll have to continue to follow it and see what shows up in the news. So very interesting revelations on BlackRock. I am absolutely going to start personally following this. And I hope that you will too. So anyways, this is Jen from Behind the Scenes Tarot. Have a great rest of your day.